Back in the day, you had to fight your way through an hour-long line just to check in at JFK Airport. Now, you could lay out a picnic blanket at the boarding gate without anyone batting an eye. But behind that eerie quiet is the sound of thousands of businesses gasping for air. From shocking travel accidents to the exodus of international visitors, the U.S. tourism industry is paralyzed. In this video, we'll count down the top 10 American companies facing collapse as the travel sector is no longer what it used to be. 10. Marriott Hotels. 5-star rooms, completely empty. Marriott isn't just a hotel chain, it was once a symbol, a representation of elegance, exclusivity, and the pride of American-style hospitality. But every symbol has a breaking point. In San Francisco, once the host of hundreds of international conferences, multi-million-dollar events, and lavish weddings of the Asian elite, now only silence and shuttered curtains remain. Over 40% of luxury rooms in the city center, suites once booked 6 months in advance, now sit unoccupied, even with prices slashed to loss-making levels. A hotel manager there sighs and says, "The rooms are still beautiful, we clean them every day, but guests don't want to come to America anymore." It's not that they've run out of money. They're just missing one thing, the feeling of being welcomed. Marriott has poured tens of millions into premium wedding packages, global standard amenities, and conference setups, but none of it matters if no one walks through the lobby doors. Medical tech and finance conferences, once the lifeblood of Marriott on the West Coast, have all moved to Lisbon, Seoul, Bangkok, where rooms are cheaper, visas are easier, and there's less paranoia when checking in with a foreign passport. Marriott didn't fail on quality. They simply landed in the wrong place at the wrong time. America is no longer a default destination, and international guests, once seeing Hilton or Marriott as the first choice of every journey, are quietly deleting the U.S. from their travel plans. Behind those gleaming glass walls are hundreds of employees laid off or forced into unpaid leave. Chefs stand idle before empty stoves. Front desk staff show up for shifts with no one to check in. Career dreams in hospitality, once nurtured in Marriott's global training programs, are now being strangled by revenues drying up by the day. This is no longer a temporary crisis, it's a collapse of direction. As the high-end ecosystem Marriott depended on has stopped functioning, the scariest part isn't the lack of guests. It's the world's silence when no one even mentions Marriott in America anymore. Because when people stop talking about you, stop complaining, stop praising, it means you've slipped off their mental map. And once a brand fades from global travelers' minds, no amount of stars can buy back a trust that has quietly walked away. Number 9. Delta Airlines. Flying in silence, losing in secrecy. Delta used to be the embodiment of the American dream in the skies. The airline didn't just connect states, it connected the world. Wide-body Boeings once carried Japanese business delegations, Berlin-based panelists, Canadian families vacationing in Florida, all like international arteries feeding American tourism. But one day, the flight still operated, taking off, landing, only now with empty cabins. Business class became a ghost museum at Atlanta Airport. Once the world's busiest hub, gates began going dark by mid-afternoon. Not due to a pilot shortage, but because there was simply no one left worth flying. As someone who chose Delta for my first work trip to New York, I still remember how the flight attendant greeted me with a warm smile, how the in-flight meal made me feel like America was embracing me. But on my most recent trip, flying Delta from Seoul to Los Angeles, all I got was a cold meal and a nearly deserted cabin. No more excited eyes of tourists, no more buzzing energy of people preparing for their American journey. Just lonely suitcase wheels and dim airplane lights. Delta has been forced to cut flights from key markets like Tokyo, Frankfurt, and Paris. They've rerouted long-haul aircraft to serve domestic routes. More of a survival tactic than a growth strategy. But here's the danger. The U.S. domestic market isn't enough to keep those steel birds in the air forever. Delta is now facing a paradox. Massive infrastructure, shrinking demand. The world no longer prioritizes flights to America, not because Delta is bad, but because the destination has lost its allure. Premium customers, the very group Delta has long courted through loyalty programs like SkyMiles, are switching to Emirates, Qatar, ANA. They prefer transiting through Doha, Tokyo, or Lisbon, instead of facing America's harsh entry protocols, wary customs eyes, and those seemingly harmless questions that sting for days. What's the purpose of your visit? Who invited you? Do you have sufficient funds? And for business travelers, comfort and time matter more than anything. Delta did nothing wrong. They're just flying the American flag into a destination the world no longer wishes to land in. It's bitter to see an aviation icon like Delta, once flying the American dream across continents, now forced to revise flight plans week by week just to keep a few routes alive. They say, if you want to know which country is leading, look at how busy their airlines are. Well, today at Gate D13 of Atlanta International Airport, where I sat watching the departure screen flash, flight canceled 3 times in a row, I couldn't help but wonder, is the American dream also indefinitely delayed? Number 8. Expedia Group, the global booking giant that can't sell the American dream. Expedia used to be the first stop for anyone planning a trip to the US, from a French family booking tickets to Disney World, to a group of Korean friends searching for hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. It all began with one keyword: flights to USA. But now, when you type that phrase into Google, the top results no longer lead to America. Instead, it's Portugal, Mexico, Thailand, destinations once behind the US, now quietly overtaking it without much explanation. Expedia, the king of the digital booking economy, is now staring down a harsh reality. It's not that they've forgotten how to sell, it's that no one wants to buy anymore. I still remember the excitement of booking a New York flight plus hotel combo on Expedia back in 2017. Everything bundled in one click, great prices, tons of options. But recently, when I tried using the platform again, the US suggestions were sparse, the deals felt stale, and most of the attractive listings were in Europe and Southeast Asia, where travel feels simpler, safer, and more human than robotic. I realized Expedia probably knows this too. Evidence? They've slashed more than 50% of their international marketing budget for US destinations, not as a strategy, but as a surrender to user behavior. People aren't searching cheap hotel in LA or family vacation in Florida the way they used to. Those keywords are sinking in rankings day by day. A global sentiment indicator, hotels in the US, once golden partners of Expedia, are pulling out, canceling ads, slashing commissions, and in some cases, ending partnerships entirely. The breakdown of trust isn't just between travelers and destinations. It's between platforms and partners. A domino chain collapsing with Expedia helpless at the center. I don't blame Expedia. They're still a solid platform, still innovating, still running campaigns. But when you're selling a dream and that dream loses its magic, no algorithm can fix that. When customers click to browse New York hotels but end up booking in Chiang Mai, Expedia can only nod, chuckle, and redirect the budget elsewhere. In the global travel game, choice doesn't come from banner ads. It comes from emotion, and right now, the emotion tied to America is turning cold. There's a bitter irony. Platforms like Expedia once helped bring America closer to the world. Easy to book, easy to go, easy to reach. But now, they are the clearest sign that America is being unbooked. A silent rejection. No headlines, no drama. Just decisive disengagement. And if even Expedia, with the power of data, AI, and global consumer insights, can't sell America anymore, then we have to ask, is the problem still on the seller's side, or has the buyer simply stopped seeing any reason to come? Number 7. Uber. When rides no longer have a destination. There was a time when Uber wasn't just a symbol of convenience. It was the beginning of every American travel story. Step out of the airport, open the app, and within minutes someone would be there. Everything was fast, smooth, no awkward explanations, no price haggling, no fear of being ripped off like in some countries. To international tourists, Uber wasn't just transport, it was a safety buffer between them and the vast, unfamiliar America. But in 2025, that's changed. Not because Uber disappeared. In fact, driver numbers have gone up because people lost jobs, the economy weakened, and everyone's trying to survive. The problem is, the passengers are gone. According to internal data from Uber and major U.S. travel associations, international pickups at airports like JFK, LAX, SFO, have dropped by over 35% in just 2 years, where once a plane landing would trigger a chain of rides, from airport to hotel, hotel to attraction, restaurant back to downtown. Now, most of those trips just don't happen. Uber cars are left waiting, idle, in places that were once gold mines for the app. I once stood outside Los Angeles airport at 9 p.m., dragging my suitcase to the pickup point, and was shocked to wait over 10 minutes with no drivers accepting the trip. A Vietnamese-American man next to me muttered, "Not many riders now. Drivers don't even bother turning the app on. Gas ain't cheap." Ironically, Uber's been rolling out bonuses, promos, and subsidies. But the more they promote, the more their profits shrink. A lean business model once praised as revolutionary is now stuck in a lose-lose loop. More drivers means chaotic pricing. Fewer passengers means more cost just to retain supply. And the more they try to plug losses, the further they drift from profitability. But the real issue isn't numbers. It's mindset. International tourists no longer feel safe calling rides in American cities, especially those from Asia or Europe. Some choose to walk or never leave the resort. Others, heeding travel group advice, only use hotel transportation, where they feel more protected. And so Uber, once a symbol of freedom, flexibility, exploration, is now met with hesitation. Should I use it? Not because the system is broken, but because the environment feels too fragile. Uber used to be the silent companion, linking every American corner to first-time visitors. But today, if you open the app in cities like Chicago, Seattle, or San Diego, you might see an empty map, or worse, an absurdly high fare. The little moving car icons that once zipped around the screen now sit still, as if waiting for a version of America with travelers again. And when even Uber, the platform that redefined mobility, can no longer connect people to people, places to journeys, we're forced to face a colder truth. America hasn't just lost tourists, it's losing the feeling of being connected, that fragile emotion that once made the world want to come, explore, and come back again. Because sometimes, a ride isn't just a ride, it's the first hello, the first heartbeat of a journey. And if that greeting disappears, then who is America welcoming? 6. Booking Holdings. When America disappears from the map of desire. Booking Holdings isn't just a company, it's an ecosystem that shaped how the world travels. With Booking.com, Agoda, Priceline, they don't sell hotel rooms. They sell trust, structure, and the feeling that no matter where you are, the world is ready for you with just a tap on your phone. From homestays in Italy to resorts in Bali, from boutique hotels in Kyoto to premium suites in downtown Chicago. Booking once made every destination feel reachable. But in 2025, there's one destination quietly vanishing from the global booking map: the United States. According to data from eMarketer and trend tracking platforms, Booking has slashed more than half its international ad budget promoting the US. Not because they dislike America, but because users stopped clicking. The phrase "cheap hotel in LA" drops in ranking day after day. New York vacation deal, once a Google Trends star, now just a fading blip. And like any efficient machine, Booking simply adjusts to the reality. If customers are searching for safe resort in Croatia, beachside hotel in Da Nang, or quiet villa in Algarve, the algorithm follows the users, not sentiment. I tried it myself, opened the Booking app and typed in United States. The results loaded quickly, a long list, but somehow lacked allure. No more hot deal labels, no fresh reviews, and most of all, I had no reason to book. Not because America lacks beautiful hotels, but because a trip to the US now feels more like an exam than a vacation. The visa is tough, security is tight, the media emphasizes risk, and above all, the feeling of welcome, invisible but essential, has faded. Booking hasn't betrayed America. They're doing what any smart platform would do: pivot based on user behavior. Their US hotel partners, once spending tens of thousands a month on ads, are backing out. They ask for lower commissions, slash budgets, or quietly exit campaigns. A silent breakup, no drama, but with clear consequences. No bookings, no platform push, no brand presence. And just like that, America slips from the travel memory of humankind. I once saw Booking as my travel companion. Thanks to them, I found a charming room in Prague, a romantic hideaway in Kyoto, a hotel overlooking the beach in Da Nang. But the US? I skipped it last time because I didn't want the visa stress, the border anxiety, the constant tension. I wanted a vacation, not a negotiation with suspicion. It was a personal decision, but I know I'm not the only one. And when Booking, the strongest booking platform on earth, no longer tries to sell America, perhaps what's declining isn't just hotel revenue, but the intrinsic appeal of a nation once seen as a dream by default, the number one on every must-go list. But now, no longer default, no longer first choice, America is being retested in the harshest exam of all, the world's natural choice. And when trust has left, no algorithm can keep the travelers from leaving too. 5. American Airlines. Flagships fading into oblivion. If you've ever flown internationally to the US, chances are you've set foot on an American Airlines plane. This carrier isn't just a long-standing brand. It once symbolized the dream of being connected, from Tokyo to Dallas, Frankfurt to Miami, Paris to Chicago. Transatlantic and Trans-Pacific routes were once packed with business people, students, families, tourists, all choosing America as the destination. But now, step into an American Airlines business cabin, and what you'll notice isn't the service, it's the silence. Seats once fought over months in advance now float quietly in dim cabin light, empty. According to internal data from IATA and American's own reports, international passenger numbers on long-haul U.S. routes have dropped sharply in 2025. Many routes from Europe and Asia have reduced frequency or merged schedules, a check-in agent at LAX shared bluntly. I used to process hundreds of Japanese and German travelers every morning. Now it's just a handful, mostly locals or business only. The issue isn't the planes, nor the service. It's something deeper, the loss of feeling welcome. International travelers today hesitate at every step. Long visa waits, customs grilling, sky-high ticket prices without improved benefits. And in a post-pandemic world, people avoid fatigue at all costs, even if it means avoiding a country they once dreamed of. I once flew American Airlines from Seoul to Dallas on a work trip. It was a long journey, exhausting, and above all, cold. Not because of the AC, but because of the atmosphere. No more chatter, no buzzing groups of excited Asian tourists. No more smiling Canadian families heading to Florida, just heads down, empty seats, and a crew still trying to smile, though they knew things weren't the same. American Airlines isn't lacking effort. They're still promoting, maintaining networks, investing in loyalty programs like AAdvantage. But even their elite members, their highest value customers, are shifting to other carriers. Emirates, Lufthansa, ANA, Singapore Airlines, not just for better service, but because the alternative destinations make the trip feel more worth it. Bali may be far, but it's relaxing. Lisbon may be small, but it's stress-free. Tokyo may be pricey, but it's smooth. America offers none of that easily. Aviation is a sensitive industry. It's a barometer of global sentiment. When people stop booking flights to a country, it's no longer about logistics. It's cultural reflex, a soft rejection. And American Airlines, with all its history, scale, and ambition, is now a living testament to a truth nobody wants to admit. America is no longer the obvious destination. The planes still take off, still carry the flag on their fuselage. But the chilling part is, not many are aboard. If aviation reflects how much a country is loved, then the empty cabins on American Airlines international routes are more than just a sad financial report. They're the echo of a growing global sentiment. I'm not going there right now. And when the flagship carrier of the American dream must land in silence, we must ask, is anyone still dreaming? Still. 4. MGM and Caesars, Las Vegas. When the lights are still on, but the rooms are empty, Las Vegas was once a show without intermission, a city that never slept, where people came not just to spend, but to escape from judgment, pressure, limits. With over 4 million international visitors a year, Vegas used to be the paradise of carefree indulgence, where LED lights, slot machine jingles, champagne toasts, and world-class performances melted into what we once called American enchantment. But in 2025, that same city, still dazzling, still lit every night, has become a hollow shell, and the ones hearing that echo the loudest are none other than two entertainment empires, MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment. According to the latest data from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA, the number of international visitors to the city dropped by more than 65% in just 1 year. That number isn't just a stat. It's a death sentence for countless shows, restaurants, bars, spas, luxury boutiques, and of course, casinos. MGM had to cancel multiple weekday performances. Caesars shut down casino sections early, places that once operated 24/7. VIP experiences that once drew elites from London, Dubai, Shanghai have been quietly removed from booking systems with no explanation. I visited Vegas once, back in 2019. The moment I stepped into the Bellagio lobby, I was overwhelmed. Not by the architecture, but by the energy. Every step was sound, motion, an unapologetic American invitation. Play, spend, don't think. But if you go there today, what overwhelms you might just be the emptiness. No more long lines for Cirque du Soleil. No more Chinese tour groups waving red flags. No more Japanese, German, or Arab visitors marveling at the roulette tables. Just rows of empty seats. Bartenders with no bar to tend. Stage lights shining down on performers. With no audience, Vegas has one big problem. It doesn't run on necessity. No one has to go to Vegas, like they must go to New York for business or to DC for consular matters. Vegas runs on want, on inspiration. And that inspiration has been choked by what America can't control. Fear of instability, rising costs, complex visas, and an image that no longer feels inviting. When people choose Dubai for luxury, Singapore for entertainment, or Bangkok for food and fun, no matter how many new shows Vegas puts on, it can't survive without international viewers. MGM and Caesars are still trying. They're offering room discounts like never before, bundling show plus stay combos for less than a fancy dinner. But if no one clicks book now, then even a 90% discount won't light up the stage. Marketing campaigns that once burned millions now echo in empty rooms. The international VIP system is nearly frozen, and Las Vegas, built on the illusion of glamour, is now revealing its fragile core. Here's the frightening truth few say aloud. Without international guests, Las Vegas can't exist at its full scale. Domestic visitors may come, play a few games, snap a few selfies, but it's those from Tokyo, Dubai, Paris, London, the ones who bring big dreams, big budgets, and true fascination with the shiny America, who keep Vegas alive. And now they're not coming. Not because Vegas lost its charm, but because America is no longer a place people feel like spending to dream. When you walk into a ready stage, lights still glowing, music still playing, but rows of seats empty from front to back, you understand how MGM and Caesars feel right now. They're not dead, but they're living in a muted reality. And for an industry built on applause, cheers, and standing ovations, this is the most brutal form of collapse. Number 3. Hilton Hotels, a hospitality empire shrinking in silence. Once the birthplace of love stories, the site of million-dollar deals, the host of high-level international summits, Hilton wasn't just a hotel chain. It defined American class and global hospitality, from Hilton Hawaiian Village in Honolulu with white sands and golden sunsets. This brand used to be the default destination for millions of international travelers chasing the American dream. But in 2025, Hilton no longer welcomes guests the way it used to. It's now trapped in a dream no one wakes up from. In Hawaii, once the world's honeymoon capital, Hilton had to shutter nearly half of its rooms during peak season. Not due to staffing shortages, not due to renovations, but because there were no bookings. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, where every square foot costs a fortune, Hilton Midtown quietly cut nearly a third of its front desk staff in Q1. What shocked me most was this: no outrage, no media firestorm, no public uproar, because everyone understood, when guests stop coming, layoffs are just the visible tip of a very cold iceberg. I stayed at Hilton Waikiki back in 2018, a high-floor ocean view room, cold water delivered bedside, everything so perfect it felt like a commercial. But my last visit, same place, same brand, just last year, everything felt different. No warm greetings, no sense of being treated like a VIP. Everything ran like a power-saving machine. Cold, mechanical, indifferent. That wasn't the Hilton I knew. Or rather, that Hilton had been forced to shrink by circumstance. The problem at Hilton isn't service. They still maintain quality, upgrade interiors, update their apps. But in tourism, what people remember isn't the bed size or how many breakfast buffet items there were. It's the feeling of being welcomed. And when that feeling is gone, even a feather bed and silverware can't convince a global traveler to stay. Not when there are hundreds of friendlier, easier options. What's truly alarming is Hilton's quiet disappearance from international travelers' minds. Global campaigns postponed, escape to USA ads no longer generating buzz, honeymoon tours, corporate events, brand activations, either canceled or replaced by other destinations. Maldives, Santorini, Hokkaido, Da Nang. The world keeps moving. They've simply changed direction. And sadly, Hilton, and America with it, are no longer on the route. When a hotel empire like Hilton, with all its heritage, network, and legacy, has to cut back on the very services that once defined it. That's not a budgeting issue. It's a confession. People no longer believe in the American experience the way they used to. They're no longer willing to spend thousands to wake up on the other side of the globe, only to feel like outsiders in a nation that once prided itself on open arms. Hilton still stands, still elegant, still refined. But if there's no one at the door to ring the signature brass bell, can anyone still hear, "Welcome to Hilton"? And when the lodging empire that once embodied America's face to the world is forced to retreat step by step, maybe the question isn't, how do we increase tourist numbers? But rather, why do people no longer want to come? 2. Airbnb. When freedom is no longer the reason to choose. There was a time when Airbnb symbolized the desire for boundless discovery. It opened a different door, away from traditional hotels. People got to live like locals, cook in unfamiliar kitchens, sit on balconies watching the city wake from a view that was truly their own. Airbnb didn't sell accommodations. They sold the feeling of, "I belong here," even if just for a few nights. And America, the birthplace of home sharing, was once the promised land of that experience. But now, the very country that gave birth to Airbnb has become the place where this model is visibly slipping, not due to outdated tech, but because trust is quietly fading. According to industry stats, Airbnb bookings in major U.S. cities like Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco have dropped significantly in the international traveler segment. For those who once loved the feeling of living like a local, that feeling now comes with unease. Cleaning fees have surged, sometimes up to $100 just for post-stay tidying. Security policies have tightened. Complex door codes, cameras by the entrance, long-winded email instructions, and most importantly, the absence of real human presence. Once the soul of Airbnb has been replaced with cold, rigid rule sheets, as if guests are preemptively suspected of misbehavior. I once rented an Airbnb in Chicago. I pictured a warm welcome, tips on local eats, maybe a cup of tea with the host if we got along. But instead, I received a 2-page email with instructions that felt like accessing a military server. The electronic lock was clunky, the Wi-Fi name was hidden, and the entire experience felt more like a code-breaking mission than a vacation. I slept in a beautiful apartment, yet felt like an intruder. And the most surprising part, I wasn't alone. Across travel forums, international tourists echoed the same frustration. I booked this for freedom, but why do I feel watched? Airbnb tried to respond. They tightened ID checks, required clear profile photos, limited guest counts, strengthened house rules to ensure safety. But they didn't realize, the more they tried to make guests feel safe, the more they drained the spirit that made Airbnb magical in the first place. Freedom can't be enforced through regulations. And travelers who once chose Airbnb for friendliness, warmth, and controlled spontaneity are now going back to hotels, where at least there's a front desk, someone to knock on if help is needed. Airbnb isn't wrong. They're doing what they must to survive increasing legal risks. But in the process, they lost something no rulebook can restore: unconditional trust. And for international guests, especially in the post-pandemic era, trust matters more than ever. For them, renting a home abroad is no longer just about relaxing. It's a psychological test, And America, with media full of anxiety, hyper-surveillance, and restrictive policies, is making visitors hesitate more than dream. It's a cruel irony. The country that birthed one of the most progressive travel concepts of the 21st century is now the place where people most want to avoid it. The apartments still have lights on. The app still runs flawlessly. The photos still look like a dream. But if behind that door is suspicion, 24/7 surveillance warnings, and the fear of violating some unknown rule, who dares knock anymore? And when Airbnb, with all its cultural capital, innovation, and promise of feeling at home, can't preserve warmth on the very soil where it was born, the real danger isn't lost revenue. It's that America is losing the only thing that ever made people want to come back: the feeling of being trusted. 1. Disney. When magic no longer leads back to America. Disney isn't just a company, it's memory. It's where millions of children around the world once painted their first dreams, holding their parents' hands through the Mickey-shaped gate, riding spinning carousels, hugging a character that stepped out of a cartoon and believing magic is real. For many international families, visiting Disneyland or Disney World wasn't just a trip. It was a rite of passage, a milestone, a moment marking childhood. And for decades, America was the heart of that magic. But in 2025, those gates remain open. The music still plays, the characters still wave. Only now, there are fewer and fewer people waving back. According to reports from Theme Park Insider and the U.S. Travel Association, international visitors to Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California have dropped by more than 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels. It's a number that might seem temporary at first glance, but look closer, and it's the clearest sign yet. The world is pausing at the threshold of the American dream. Countries that were once core audiences, Japan, South Korea, Germany, Brazil, are now turning toward Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Resort, or rising domestic theme parks in Southeast Asia. I once went to Disney World during a noisy summer. Children screaming with joy, couples kissing under fireworks, families from all corners of the globe laughing to the tune of fairy tales. The dream just wasn't strong enough to hold people anymore. The problem isn't Disney. They're still doing what made them great. Excellent service, ever-evolving content, clean parks, seamless operations. But America, where Disney is based, is now its biggest obstacle. A trip to the U.S. today is a draining chain of hurdles even before takeoff. Visa processes are complex, wait times are long, rejection chances are high, airfare is no longer affordable, and news about safety concerns makes families wonder, is it worth the risk? Disney tried to adapt. They rolled out domestic promotions, new discounts, even postponed expansions to cut costs. But the issue isn't price, it's emotional. Families come to Disney not just for rides or Mickey-shaped ice cream. They come to mark a moment in life, and if that moment is wrapped in anxiety, fatigue, and the feeling of being inspected and judged, then no matter how many fireworks explode overhead, the heart won't open to let the magic in. The cruel twist is this. In a world where Disney spent decades planting seeds of wonder, their own homeland no longer offers the soil for those dreams to grow. Gift shops are quiet. Hotels like the Grand Floridian or Contemporary Resort are seeing occupancy drop by nearly 40%. Epcot expansion plans are frozen, and worst of all, loyal international guests who once came every 3 to 5 years just to let their child feel the magic are now asking a serious question. Is there somewhere else? If even Disney, the brand the world once loved unconditionally, can't hold its place in travelers' hearts, then the issue isn't economics, it's emotional. The world still needs magic, but they're finding it elsewhere. Closer, cheaper, warmer. And America, though still building fantasy worlds, still creating iconic characters, is slowly losing the one thing every dream needs: the feeling of being welcomed. And when magic no longer leads back to America, we have to ask, who lost their way first, the world or America itself? When the brand United States of America is no longer a selling point, you don't need to be a marketer to understand a simple truth. In tourism, the destination is the brand, and that brand, sometimes, matters even more than where you stay, which airline you fly, or what platform you book on. For America, this used to be an absolute advantage. USA were 3 letters that made hearts race. That lit up children's eyes at the sight of the Statue of Liberty. That made young people spend an entire year applying for a visa just to set foot on a university campus. America once embodied the idea of travel to expand your worldview, arrive to live the dream. But in 2025, that brand is in deep crisis, not from a boycott, not from a singular political event, but from the quiet retreat of the world. There are no more trending hashtags like Tiger Road Trip USA, no more viral videos capturing the moment someone steps into Times Square for the first time. Instead, a new wave is rising. Healing travel, slow travel, identity-based travel. And in all of these things, America no longer holds the edge. Too fast, too intense, too expensive, too cold. I used to believe that everyone in the world wanted to visit the US at least once, not because of New York or California, but because America stood for something beyond geography, a promise. But lately, I've been hearing different answers. A Korean girl I met in Bali said bluntly, "I used to dream of going to the US, but now I want to visit Peru or Greece. I feel safer." A German businessman who used to attend annual conferences in Vegas told me, "Every time I go through US customs, it feels like an exam. I'm exhausted by the need to prove I deserve to enter." A national brand doesn't collapse in a day. It fractures through tiny cracks. Each suspicious glance at immigration, each complicated visa form, each news story about domestic unrest, each tale of a traveler turned away for vague reasons. And when those cracks go unpatched, they turn into fissures. When fissures multiply, you don't need an earthquake. The brand will fall on its own. It's bitter to admit. Today, people come to America to work, to seek treatment, to study, but no longer to dream. Tourism, a business built on pure emotion, is now being managed with technical checklists, with suspicion instead of welcome, with policies that see foreigners through a lens of risk, not opportunity. And the consequence? No one blames you, no one boycotts you. They simply choose to spend, to experience, to remember, somewhere else. And that is the truest cruelty. When the world no longer resents you, no longer debates you, no longer quotes you on their bucket list, when your absence becomes normal. So, if we were to rank the company facing the greatest collapse from America's tourism crisis, the final, and perhaps most painful name isn't Uber or Hilton or Delta. It's the United States of America, as a destination brand, and when the national brand is no longer an invitation, then all the marketing, advertising, promotions are just lipstick on a smile no one is looking at anymore.